I'm on page 78. This is a copy of a very old GED math book, but it does a great job explaining the Pythagorean relationship or the Pythagorean theorem. The relationship is actually what the story's about, and I'm not going to read it to you. You can read it if you're interested. But I wanted to include this page not only because of the good information, but it also gives you definitions of these words. So I'll encourage you to take a look at these, and I want to actually look at some of the things in the margin. But the Pythagorean relationship is this formula right here. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And I want to see if I can explain that to you just a little bit before we try these problems. So first, let's take a look at this right triangle. I know it's a right triangle because of this notation in the corner. That means that that is a 90-degree angle. And we have a leg of this 90-degree triangle, also a leg, and then this is called hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is always the longest of the three sides. It is always across from this right angle. So that right angle is always opposite the hypotenuse. And the hypotenuse is the side that's slanted. It will always be the longest of the three sides. This is a leg. And a little bit down the line, we will learn some special names for these sides as well. But for today, we're just talking about hypotenuse. So your triangle has two legs, and they're attached to the right angle. And then the side across from the right angle is the hypotenuse. You need to know those terms very well. So let's take a look at this little tip right here. This is again, this is a GED book, but this is good information. It says to watch for 3, 4, 5 right triangles on math tests. They're very common, and also multiples of those are used. So 6, 8, 10, 9, 12, 15, and 1.5, 2, and 2.5. So let me show you what that's talking about if you don't know. So here is a right triangle that I've drawn. And I want you to imagine that the dimensions of this right triangle are 3 units, 4 units, and 5 units. And let me highlight for you, there's hypotenuse. Here's a leg. And here's a leg. So those are the elements of the right triangle. And we can say that this is a 3, 4, 5 triangle. It's called a Pythagorean triple. You cannot just put 3 numbers randomly together and get a Pythagorean triple every time. So a 3, a 4, and a 5 will always work. Hypotenuse is always the longest of the 3. So if I'm taking a math test and I see 3 and 4, and they're asking me to find that one, I don't even have to work the problem because I know it's a 5. That's the only number in the world that will make this true. And I'm going to show you why it's true here soon. But a 3, 4, and 5 will always be a Pythagorean triple. So what if I enlarged the 3, 4, 5? So this is a similar triangle. It kind of looks like the mama triangle, if that first one is the baby triangle. So let's say that I want to enlarge my triangle into this one. And I tell you that this side is 10 units. So the scale factor is 2. I've said 5 times 2 is 10. So 3 times 2 is 6. And 4 times 2 is 8. So using a scale factor of 2, I get this Pythagorean triple, which is a 6, 8, 10. So what if I go a step further and enlarge again? So maybe I'm going to take my baby triangle, my original triangle, and use a scale factor of, let's say, 5 this time. So I want to enlarge the baby triangle 5 times. So you can start with any side. I'm going to start with hypotenuse. So 5 times 5 would be 25 units. 3 times 5 is 15 units. And 4 times 5 is 20 units. So we have found another Pythagorean triple. This will not be too important to us for what we're doing, but this is just a very handy little thing to know. If you ever have to take a math test, you can save yourself a lot of time if you know about scaling up or down. You can also go the other way. You could take the triangle down even smaller. And let me show you one of those, and then I'll hush about it. So let's say that we're going to reduce the size. We're going to scale it down from the 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to take it down half. So I'm going to say 4 times a half, 5 times a half, and 3 times a half. So this time my scale factor is 1/2. So half of 4 is 2 units. Let me do some. That is, I'm sorry. I'm trying to match them up for you, and I'm not doing a very good job. Here's the base. Here's this leg. And then here is hypotenuse. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. 3 divided by 2 is 1.5. And 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. Hypotenuse will always be the longest side. So this scale factor was 2. We multiplied by 2. This scale factor was 5. And I'm always working with that 3, 4, 5 to either make it bigger or smaller. So this one is a 1.5, a 2, and a 2.5. That is a Pythagorean triple. Those 3 numbers will work together to make a true right triangle. All right, that's all I'm going to say on this page, and then we'll look at some practice examples of these on the next video.